that there were plans to have this load shedding situation. So almost a year ago, Madam Speaker, they were notified. And the speculation that Hadid deliberately chose this time to service that plan is just mere speculation, because at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, anything could have happened. The plant could have broke down for any number of reasons. And they knew that they were up to their full capacity and that they weren't going to contract further with the Hadids. Therefore, they had a right, Madam Speaker. They had an obligation, knowing that they're not giving Hadid any more business, they had an obligation to make sure that they had a backup supply. Why would they reasonably believe that, having said to the Hadids, you ain't getting any more business, why would you think that they would want to put the new plants online for 3 weeks to accommodate you? Madam Speaker, as leaders, we must know how to anticipate certain things. And if anyone on the other side had given serious thought to this situation, they ought to have known that they would have had a crisis. You know, Madam Speaker, I have here a witness statement that was given by Chaku Walker for the next level litigation. And in his witness statement, Madam Speaker, he indicated that the APC was actually just about meeting the full capacity at 41, and that if indeed there was an increase, that they would have had a crisis. Chaku Walker, in his witness statement, indicated that there was a need, and this is back in 2006, Madam Speaker, July 4th, 2006, in his witness statement, indicated that there was a need for urgent additional power, because at that time, APC was only meeting the capacity, and that's what, 2 years ago? So they knew that 2 years ago, that if anything went wrong with any of APC's plan, routine maintenance or otherwise, that there would have been a crisis in this country. And what did they do? You know what they did, Madam Speaker? They compounded the issue. They took offline the Venezuelan plants. Why didn't they try to keep them online for maybe another 3 weeks, a month, knowing that there was going to be load shedding? But you know what, Madam Speaker? That is a type of cavalier governance you get coming from the other side. And knowing the Honorable Prime Minister, as far as he's concerned, oh, they can live in darkness, man. I mean, no problem, man. You all can make the sacrifice. Why must the people of this country be always called upon to sacrifice? Why doesn't he sacrifice, Madam Speaker? You see that he's ballooning, very prosperous. Why the members on the other side don't sacrifice, Madam Speaker? Why is always the poor class people in this country should be called upon to sacrifice? Because let me say here that the well-off ones, they have generators. So if the electricity goes off, Madam Speaker, they just turn on the generators. But my constituents, when the lights go off at night, Madam Speaker, they have to sleep in the dark, just like me. Yes, I sleep in the dark with them because I live in my community. And I'm saying here, Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister ought to be a little more sensitive to the needs of the people. You know the present crime situation within the country. And let me tell you this, Madam Speaker, 2 of my constituents were raped within the last week. 2. One of them don't want nobody to know. One of them reported it. Look in the Observer of last week, Thursday, somewhere around there, Madam Speaker. I'm saying here that we are prejudicing the standard of living of our people, and we are compromising the safety, Madam Speaker, with this situation. One person's house burned flat, Madam Speaker, last week because after the power outage, they had to use a candle. Who is going to pay for that property? AP are going to pay for it? Is the Honorable Prime Minister going to pay for it? That is how you want them to tighten their bellies? That's how you want them to gird their loins and join the battle? For what? Their own self-destruction? Madam Speaker, this is not caring governance. While he's fighting with the Hadids, people out there suffering. Go find a solution, Mr. Prime Minister. Use your creativity and solve this problem in the public interest. I do not agree with the Honorable Prime Minister that we can sacrifice the 3 weeks. You know what type of loss in productivity we would have had in 3 weeks, Madam Speaker, as a result of the load shedding? One of my constituents called me yesterday She has a laundry, Madam Speaker, in Villa. Her name is Cecile Idiot. And her business, she can't afford no generator for her business. Her business has been compromised. People are going to her laundry to take back the clothes because she don't have the electricity to wash them or to iron them. And she has loans to pay. She has her children to feed. So her standard of living, Madam Speaker, has been compromised. We can't have a prime minister saying here that we must tighten our belts, that we must gird our lines and join the battle. Join what battle? What you want to do, take all of us to go fight Hadid? For what? We don't have no issue with Hadid. If it's about a monopoly, legislate it. Come to the parliament. Put anti-competition laws or competition laws or antitrust laws in place. And say, look, no entity can own more than 70% or 40%, whatever it is. Perhaps I should say more appropriately, more than 30% or 40%. That's what you should do, not to pick a personal fight so it becomes now a personal battle between you and the Hadids. That is totally ridiculous, Mr. Leader. And the other thing you have done, and you're probably not even aware, you have divided your cabinet. Your cabinet is divided over this issue. He's sulking over there. If you believe, through you, Madam Speaker, Mr. Prime Minister, member for Rural West, that the cabinet is not divided, ask each one of them to speak. And I guarantee you that you do not have more than maybe 3-4 presentations on this issue. Because their conscience is such that they would speak with a heavy heart. They're not happy with their leadership. And you know, Madam Speaker, there's a real possibility that this situation that exists is potentially as a result of greed. Not greed by the Hadids, but greed in the cabinet. And I say no more on that issue.
Be careful.
If you want further details, ask Ambassador Shaw. Madam Speaker, I hope when the Honourable Member for St. John's Rural West wind up the debate that he will indicate to us what solutions he's going to bring to the people of this country and when. Tell us that you're going to let us know what it is in 3 days. We want to know now. What are you going to do to resolve this power situation? And when it will be resolved. Perhaps you can also tell us how. If you can't tell us how, we want to know when it will be resolved. It's absolutely critical, Madam Speaker. People can't plan nothing in this country with the kind of situation that exists today. And as I said before, you're compromising the safety of the people of this country. Got to take responsibility. Don't blame the Hadids. If you were proactive and responsible in your leadership, you would have ensured, having said to the Hadids that they ain't getting any more business, you'd have ensured that you had a backup supply of electricity. And that is where you went wrong. Take responsibility, man. Stop fooling people. Make them feel it's some monopoly issue. Had nothing to do with the monopoly. And the other thing, Madam Speaker, is that the Prime Minister keeps putting his personal vendettas above and beyond the interests of the country. And let me tell you, Madam Speaker, I think it's unacceptable for the Prime Minister of this country to constantly come to this House and berate outstanding citizens, important economic citizens of this country. No matter what you say about the Hadids, they are important economic citizens of this country. No matter what you say about R. Allen Stanford, he's one of the most important economic citizens in this country and must be respected. And I want to tell you, Madam Speaker, whereas I would accept that the office of the Prime Minister should be respected, the Honourable Prime Minister must understand that the other two entities that I spoke about, R. Allen Stanford and the Hadids, they're far more important to this country than him as Prime Minister. And that is a matter of fact. Far more important. So if you want to weigh importance here, and again, I don't want people to think that I'm fighting for these individuals. I'm not. But we must be fair, and we must respect people's contributions to this country. What happened? Your Prime Minister is so important. I mean, what value has the Prime Minister brought to this country in the last 4 years? Huh? What value? Huh? Who? My Prime Minister?
Honorable members.
I made a point.